Greetings from our channel again. Mia Farrow now talks about the day that changed everything after decades of keeping quiet. When she entered Woody Allen's flat in January 1992, she discovered pictures that would completely change her life. It wasn't the worst finding, though. A nightmare of betrayal, abuse claims, and family secrets ensued, all of which she has so far kept quiet about. She calls the man her greatest regret in life, and at 79, she's finally prepared to share the heartbreaking truth about him. On February 9, 1945, Mia Farrow was born in Los Angeles, California. Both of her parents worked in Hollywood. John Farrow, her father, was a well-known Australian writer and filmmaker. Maureen O'Sullivan, her mother, was an actress who portrayed Jane in the Tarzan films of the 1930s and 1940s. Mia came from a family of 7 and was the third kid. She was surrounded by luxury while growing up in Beverly Hills. Hollywood celebs frequently visited her family's large, opulent home. Her godparents were well known as well. Renowned filmmaker George Cukor and influential gossip journalist Luella Parsons. As a child, Mia had a theatrical and playful side. She enjoyed giving tourists who were passing by her house scary little performances using toy daggers and fake blood. She had an appearance in the short film Unusual Occupations, filmed Todd Holiday when she was barely 2 years old. This was a foreshadowing of her acting career. However, she did not have a perfect childhood. Her father struggled with alcoholism. It led to numerous arguments with her mother. Even as a small child, these arguments distressed Mia and caused her to reflect carefully on relationships and family. Additionally, her family had very strong religious beliefs. They were devoted to Roman Catholic traditions despite leading a Hollywood lifestyle. Mia attended Los Angeles Catholic schools with her siblings. She learned strong morals from her religious background and a feeling of accountability. This impacted her later choices to adopt children from diverse backgrounds and assist others. Something horrible happened to Mia when she was 9 years old. In 1954, she contracted polio amid a major outbreak in Los Angeles. She had to spend 3 weeks in quarantine in the hospital, all by herself. She experienced severe agony from the illness, particularly in her neck and back and limbs. She needed to be placed in an iron lung at one time in order to assist her breathe. The illness was as difficult as being away from her parents. The nurses were unkind to her despite her fear and confusion. She was reprimanded by a nurse for crying, claiming that it was making matters worse for everyone. Mia detested the hot packs they used as therapy, and the treatments were terrible as well. She later claimed that she felt as though her childhood was over because of polio. After that, the world appeared more frightening to her, and she no longer felt safe or protected. Another tragedy struck Mia's family when she was 13. Michael, her eldest brother, perished in an aircraft accident. Michael, who was in the Marine Corps Reserve, was just 19 years old. October 28, 1958, was the date of the collision. California, close to Pacoima. The entire family was inconsolable. Her father, who was already battling alcoholism, got worse. Her parents' disputes were more aggressive as a result. Mia and her sister Prudence were enrolled at a convent school in England at the time. Mia felt even more alone after learning of Michael's passing while she was distant from home. While her family briefly remained in London before relocating to a home in Chelsea, Mia went back to her Surrey school following Michael's funeral. Mia witnessed her parents bickering more than ever during this difficult time for everyone. Following the death of her father, Mia and her mother relocated to New York City in 1963. Here, life changed. She gradually entered the field of acting via modeling and performing in plays. It wasn't simple. Despite being turned down at auditions, she persisted. Although it wasn't a huge deal, her first minor job as a child offered her a taste of what was to come. She learned how to persevere and keep trying from these difficult beginnings. Her perseverance soon paid off, and her career began to take shape. Mia tried out for the important part of Liesl Von Trapp in The Sound of Music in 1965. She didn't get the position. This was a significant time. She may still be seen singing and performing in the screen test, which gives us an idea of her early promise. Due to the high expectations for the music's tone, there was intense competition for the position. Despite not getting the part, Mia persisted. Her life altered when she was cast in Peyton Place shortly after. For her, missing out on The Sound of Music was just another step in the process. When Mia portrayed Allison Mackenzie in Peyton Place from 1964 to 1966, she rose to fame. The program focused on a small community and all of its relationships, secrets, and hardships. Mia became well known for her portrayal of Allison, a kind yet complicated young lady. The show was a huge hit, and it attracted millions of viewers each week, making it one of the first major soap operas on television. Mia's portrayal of Allison made her a likable character and demonstrated her talent. However, fame wasn't always a good thing. Her marriage to Frank Sinatra also received a lot of attention, and the media began to follow her around. Her work was frequently overshadowed by her personal life. In 1966, Mia departed Peyton Place after 2 seasons because Sinatra wanted her to. For her, leaving the show was a significant shift. She then turned her attention to film, which brought her the part that would establish her as a legend. Mia featured in Roman Polanski's 1968 psychological horror film Rosemary's Baby. Rosemary Woodhouse was her role. A pregnant woman gradually becomes aware of the horrible events going on around her. The narrative dealt with trust, fear, and the darker aspects of human nature. With almost $30 million in revenue, the film was a big success and received high appreciation. Mia's portrayal was praised by critics for bringing Rosemary's anxiety and bewilderment to life. Her work was even referred to as brilliant by Roger Ebert. This part transformed the perception of women in horror films and made Mia a real cinematic star. Rosemary was a complex and likable character rather than only a victim. The picture rose to prominence as one of the greatest horror movies ever produced, and because of its cultural influence, it was admitted to the Library of Congress in 2014. In addition to making Mia famous, Rosemary's Baby demonstrated her uniqueness and talent to the world, beginning a career filled with outstanding and distinctive roles. The relationship between Woody Allen and Mia Farrow is among the most complex and talked about in Hollywood history. She appeared in 13 of his movies during a 10-year period, beginning with a 1982 Midsummer Night's sex comedy. Diane Keaton was supposed to play Ariel, but Farrow did it. Despite receiving poor reviews, the movie exposed Farrow to Allen's comedic approach and laid the groundwork for their future long-term creative partnership. Farrow portrayed Dr. Eudora Fletcher, a psychiatrist who treated Leonard Zelig, a man who could fit in with any crowd, in Zelig shortly after. The 1983 film was a unique mashup of fantasy and mockumentary. The narrative was grounded by Farrow's composed, convincing performance. Many reviewers appreciated how successfully she collaborated with Allen on this original idea. Then came Broadway Danny Rose in 1984, in which Farrow played Tina Vitale, the girlfriend of a boisterous and brazen gangster. She talked with a heavy New York accent and donned dark sunglasses, which made the part entirely different from anything she had ever done. She was nominated for a Golden Globe because of how remarkable her performance was. Given the emotional and physical changes it demanded, Allen even remarked on how brave she was to accept such a demanding part. In 1985, she had one of her most poignant performances in The Purple Rose of Cairo. During the Great Depression, Farrow portrayed Cecilia, a desperate waitress who turns to cinema for solace. She was nominated for another Golden Globe for her portrayal of heartbreak and innocence. Farrow's performance served as the emotional core of the film, which was praised by critics and is frequently regarded as one of Allen's greatest. By 1986, they had collaborated on some of Allen's most acclaimed films, including Hannah and Her Sisters. Hannah, portrayed by Farrow, is a dependable and compassionate lady whose life serves as a link between all the other characters. Despite Farrow's lack of nominations, the film went on to become one of Allen's biggest hits and took home several Academy Awards. A role that may have gone unnoticed otherwise gained subtle strength from Farrow's performance. As Sally White, a cigarette girl who aspires to be a radio star, Farrow once again displayed her humorous side in the 1987 film Radio Days. Her change from a squeaky-voiced nobody to a self-assured individual was endearing and humorous. She starred in the more darker and more personal movie September later that year. In her role, Farrow portrayed Lane, a traumatized lady battling her emotions in a small space. She was able to delve into more dramatic territory because of the role's intensity. Despite the film's lackluster reception, Farrow's performance was notable for its unvarnished honesty. Farrow played a tiny part in Another Lady, 1988, as Hope, a distressed lady whose treatment sessions the protagonist overhears. Despite having little on-screen time, she made a significant contribution to the plot and demonstrated that she could make an impact even in a supporting part. Allen's films included Farrow on a regular basis by 1989, when Crimes and Misdemeanors was released. She portrayed Hallie Reid, a producer of documentaries who was embroiled in romantic issues. Even though her part wasn't the main attraction, she added nuance and depth to a movie that was acclaimed for its examination of morality and interpersonal relationships. Farrow played an affluent Manhattan housewife who sets out on a mystical quest of self-discovery in the 1990 film Alice. Critics praised her blend of humor and tenderness in this portrayal, earning her another Golden Globe nod. Farrow's versatility was once again demonstrated by the part, which allowed her to explore both her comical and serious sides. In 1991, Farrow portrayed Ermi, a peculiar sword swallower in a traveling circus, in Shadows and Fog. Despite receiving mixed reviews, the picture honored German expressionist filmmaking, and Farrow's distinctive performance gave the ensemble cast vitality. 1992 saw the release of Husbands and Wives, their last collaboration. Judy, portrayed by Farrow, was a woman coping with the dissolution of her marriage. Farrow gave an intensely passionate and genuine performance, and the film had an unvarnished, almost documentary-like atmosphere. Her work received a lot of appreciation despite the personal hardship that surrounded its creation. Farrow shown in these 13 films that she could handle comedy as well as drama, frequently changing who she was for a part. She was nominated for 3 Golden Globes for her roles in Alice, The Purple Rose of Cairo, and Broadway Danny Rose. Her performances had a profound effect even when she wasn't receiving accolades, and she was a crucial component of some of Allen's most enduring and highly regarded movies. On July 19, 1966, at the age of 21, Mia Farrow wed Frank Sinatra. Since Sinatra was 50, they were 31 years apart in age. Notwithstanding their differences, they fell in love fast after meeting in 1964 on the 20th Century Fox set. It was Farrow's first marriage, although it was Sinatra's fourth. Almost soon after their lavish wedding in Las Vegas, issues began to arise. Sinatra urged her to stop performing and concentrate on their relationship. When she was cast in Roman Polanski's 1968 film Rosemary's Baby, this became a major problem. While she was filming, Sinatra became enraged and even sent her divorce papers. Their separation resulted from Farrow's refusal to leave the film. She acknowledged her youth and her inexperience managing such a complex relationship. They remained close even after their 1968 divorce. Farrow said that they never truly experienced emotional separation. Even after Sinatra passed away in 1998, they stayed friends. Farrow married Andre Previn in 1970 after Sinatra. Another significant age difference was that she was 25 and he was 49. They had 2 kids during their marriage, Fletcher in 1974 and Matthew and Sasha, twins, in 1970. Farrow also started adopting kids. While she was still with Previn, she adopted Daisy from Korea and Lark from Vietnam. When Farrow discovered that Previn had cheated on her, issues arose in their seemingly blissful family life. Their marriage ended in 1979 as a result of this. Although Farrow later expressed sadness for the impact the divorce had on her children, she remained committed to being a devoted mother. Farrow began a romantic relationship with filmmaker Woody Allen in 1979. One of the most contentious aspects of her life would be this. They had a 12-year romance. Additionally, Farrow starred in 13 of Allen's films during that time. Her career benefited from their professional partnership, but their private lives ultimately turned into a scandal. Over time, Farrow's family expanded. She gained notoriety for being a loving mother and for adopting numerous children. She had 3 biological sons and adopted Lark and Daisy when she was married to Previn. She kept adopting after she got divorced. Moses and Dylan were born to her in 1980 and 1985, respectively, who subsequently played a key role in her dispute with Allen. Farrow had adopted even more children by the 1990s, such as Quincy Min from Vietnam and Thaddeus from India. She created a huge and diversified household by adopting 14 children in total. She experienced heartbreak in spite of her commitment to parenthood. She lost 3 children to death. In 2000, Tam passed away. Lark, 2008. And in 2016, Thaddeus. Despite these heartbreaking losses, Farrow remained resilient for her family. In addition to becoming a parent, she turned into a child rights activist and used her platform to support underprivileged children globally. When Mia Farrow learned that her longtime partner, Woody Allen, was having an affair with her adopted daughter in January 1992, her life took a terrible turn. Previn soon. It was a startling and memorable occasion. When Mia visited Woody's residence in New York, she discovered a collection of intimate Polaroid pictures of Soon-yi. The romance started when Soon-yi was still living with Mia, and she was 21 years old at the time. Years before to her romance with Woody, in 1977, Mia had adopted E. Discovering these images was a heartbreaking betrayal that damaged Mia's family's foundation in addition to shattering her trust. Woody and Mia had been together for more than 10 years. Throughout their time together, they created a special yet complex family. Together, they produced 3 children: Ronan, formerly named Satchel, was their biological son, and Dylan and Moses were adopted. The photo's discovery was a tipping point. Later, Mia gave a detailed account of her experience, stating, "I was just shaking. I locked the door after taking my child home. It wasn't simply Woody who was betrayed. It also concerned Mia's beloved and reared daughter, Soon-Yi. The agony was sudden and intense." The finding has explosive repercussions. The media seized upon the story as word of the incident spread like wildfire. Infidelity wasn't the only topic in the headlines. They explored morality, family loyalty, and power relations. After discovering the pictures, Mia confronted Soon-Yi. The exchange was tense, emotional, and full of tears and bewilderment. Mia soon found it difficult to comprehend what had transpired in her own house as a result of Yi's behavior and Woody's treachery. Woody made an effort to defend himself, saying that his relationship with Soon-Yi was the source of Mia's ire. However, the public was unforgiving, and his reputation suffered greatly. However, it wasn't the only instance. In 1992, Woody Allen was charged with sexually abusing Dylan Farrow, his adopted daughter, who was 7 years old. Dylan reported Allen's molestation of her at their Connecticut home to her mother, Mia Farrow. This occurred soon after Mia learned that Allen was having an affair with Soon-Yi Previn, her adopted daughter. As Mia struggled to understand Dylan's bombshell revelation and was saddened by Allen's treachery, the situation was rife with emotional turmoil. Dylan told her what had happened, and she wanted to record Dylan's story of the alleged abuse. Later on, this film was a key piece of evidence in the ensuing legal battle. An inquiry was started by the Connecticut State Police. To determine what transpired, they spoke with Dylan and other family members. No charges were brought, even though the accusations were grave. Although they couldn't rule out that abuse had taken place, the state's attorney stated that there wasn't enough evidence to file charges. Dylan was interviewed by Yale New Haven medical experts as part of the study to learn more about her emotional and mental health. There was much discussion over their findings. According to several analysts, Dylan's remarks seemed prepared or influenced by Mia. Others saw discrepancies and thought Dylan might have received coaching. However, other people thought Dylan's anguish was real and that her feelings indicated actual trauma. The situation was further complicated by the divergent viewpoints. Allen, meantime, requested custody of Dylan and his two other children, Satchel and Moses. The custody dispute was highly emotional and well reported. Despite testimony and evidence from both sides, the court decided in favor of Mia. She continued to have custody of the kids. And Allen was no longer allowed to see Dylan. Allen's activities raised major concerns, which were reflected in the judge's verdict. It was not the end of the conflict. The story remained in the public eye for years as Allen and Mia accused one another of malfeasance. As Dylan grew older, she insisted that her story was accurate. An important turning point in Mia Farrow's protracted battle to tell her side of the story about Woody Allen and the abuse claims involving their daughter Dylan Farrow was her role in the HBO series Allen vs. Farrow. The documentary, which was directed by Amy Ziering and Kirby Dick, was released on February 21, 2021. 4 episodes explored the events of 1992, when Dylan, then 7 years old, accused Allen of abusing him. To tell a clear and comprehensive tale, the filmmakers consulted police files, court documents, home films, and expert in family interviews. Mia was initially unsure about joining the series. In order to keep it a secret during filming, the filmmakers had to persuade her, and they went by the moniker Eliza Project. They aimed to provide a secure setting where Mia and Dylan could share their tale without fear of it being misrepresented by the press. It frequently exaggerated things. The documentary's use of vintage material from Mia's home films was among its most impactful elements. It included Dylan telling her experience as a young girl, soon after the alleged abuse. It was heartbreaking and difficult to watch, providing a unique, unvarnished look at the family's struggles. The show also examined the events that followed the accusations, such as the acrimonious custody dispute between Woody Allen and Mia. Media coverage and public opinion were very important and frequently favored Allen. Some believed that his refusal to participate in the documentary skewed the narrative. Others contended that his absence allowed Mia and Dylan the uninterrupted time they needed to talk about their experiences. In any case, the emphasis remained on Mia and Dylan's viewpoint, highlighting their suffering and fortitude. Being a part of this documentary caused Mia Farrow to experience a range of emotions. She talked about how her relationship with the Oscar-winning director changed from one of bliss to regret in a rare interview. Farrow said she was ecstatic when she thought back on the early days. By the 1990s, however, everything had changed. Farrow spoke her views about Allen today without holding back. She referred to their connection as her greatest life regret. She said, "I would take it all back if I could. I wish I had never met him," some say. Bringing someone like that into the family who shouldn't have been there is my worst regret in life. In 2018, Farrow provided additional details on their well-known relationship in an interview with Elle. "It wasn't as easy as many would believe," she explained. "It's not just black or white," she remarked. "If not, you'd wonder why you're spending even 10 minutes, let alone 10 years, with that individual. I reached a place many years ago where I just don't care about him." To this day, Allen and Farrow remain estranged. In a 2016 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Allen revealed that they have no contact. When asked if he ever sees Farrow, he replied, "Or travels for UNICEF or something." Almost 3 decades after their very public breakup and custody battle, Farrow admitted she still feels fear about Allen's possible actions, especially after her involvement in the HBO series. Allen, who has been married to Soon Yi for 23 years and raised 2 daughters with her, did not appear in the documentary, but was heard through audiobook excerpts from his 2020 memoir, Apropos of Nothing. In the documentary, Farrow expressed her concerns. "I'm just scared," she said, per People. "I'm scared of him. A person who has no allegiance to truth will do anything. A person who will do anything is somebody to be scared of. So I worry that when this documentary comes out, he'll be on the attack again." She also shared her belief that Allen would stop at nothing to protect himself. "He'll do whatever he has to do to try to save himself from the truth, from the mess he made," Farrow said. Her words painted a vivid picture of the pain and fear she has carried for years. Meanwhile, Mia Farrow's career changed a lot in the 2000s. She moved from movies to TV and theater, showing she could still take on different roles. And do them well. After spending years raising her children and taking fewer acting jobs, she came back to acting with a lot of energy. One of her first TV roles during this time was in the show, Third Watch. Between 2000 and 2003, she appeared in 5 episodes playing a mother who dealt with tough situations in a gritty city. This role let her show audiences she could handle deep emotional stories, even after being away from the spotlight. In 2001, Mia acted in the TV movie, A Girl Thing, which was about love and friendship between women. She starred alongside other famous actresses like Kate Capshaw and Stockard Channing. The movie had themes that connected with modern audiences, and Mia's role added to the story's emotional weight. Then in 2002, she played the lead role in the Lifetime movie, The Secret Life of Zoe. The story was about a young girl dealing with personal problems, and Mia's performance showed she could bring depth and understanding to this kind of modern family drama. At the same time, Mia started doing theater. She joined a touring play called The Exonerated in 2002. This play was about people who were wrongly sent to prison and the death penalty. Her role showed that she cared about acting in stories that had real meaning and talked about serious issues. In 2003, she acted in a play called Fran's Bed, which explored love and loss in an emotional way. This theater work proved that Mia could still take on powerful roles and connect with audiences on stage. In 2000, Mia also started focusing on humanitarian work. She became a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, using her fame to help children in need around the world. She traveled to places hit by war, poverty, and disease, including parts of Africa and Asia. One of the most important trips she took was to Darfur, where she saw how violence had hurt so many people. In 2006, she visited refugee camps in Chad, where people from Darfur had fled for safety. She listened to their stories and brought attention to their suffering. She spoke out about the violence, calling for the world to act quickly to protect these vulnerable people. Her work helped get more media attention on the crisis and pushed more people to support efforts to help Darfur. Mia didn't stop with just talking about the problems. She joined campaigns like Fund for Darfur to raise money for survivors of violence and projects that worked on peace. She used the personal stories she heard to show people how real and urgent these issues were. Her efforts were noticed, and she won awards from groups that fight for human rights. Mia's work with UNICEF inspired many people to get involved in helping others, proving that a celebrity can use their voice to make a difference. Her focus on Darfur became a big part of her activism. When she visited Chad in 2006, she said the situation was getting worse. The violence had spread from Darfur into Chad, and even the refugees were no longer safe. To bring attention to this, Mia went on a hunger strike in 2009. The strike lasted several days and got a lot of media attention, which helped her message reach more people. She also worked with groups like Save Darfur Coalition and Aegis Trust, which provided aid and helped refugees rebuild their lives. Even with all this activism, Mia managed to keep her acting career alive. Raising 14 children wasn't easy, but she still took on acting roles that mattered to her. While she acted less in big films, she focused on TV and stage projects that matched her values. She also used interviews and public appearances to talk about global issues, blending her acting work with her activism. She made sure her career and her humanitarian work supported each other.